Hi, and thank you for joining me for this autumnal table centerpiece. The technique I'm going to show you today is what you can utilise in your own home where we don't use foam. So we're going to do a foam-free technique here. So I've just got here a Tupperware box. You could use one takeaway tub, you could even use probably a chocolate biscuit tin, like one that you would get at Christmas. And I've got some pop tape, florist pop tape, available on Amazon or from Wilko's. So I'm basically going to make a grid across here using this tape, and that's going to act as support for my flowers and foliage. So just going to lay this across there. And now these are laid out like this. I'm going to pinch these bits here. To create a nice tight framework. Good, now we're ready to add the foliage. So now that we've got some mortar in, I'm going to start adding my foliage. Okay, so the foliage that I have chosen to use for this design is seasonal, and it is skimmier. And skimmier is gorgeous, really waxy. You can get it in red and in white. So I'm just going to lay some bits out. So these are just snippets that I thought would be brilliant. Offcuts that we can use to do our foam-free autumnal table display. So the idea is we want to try and cover this as much as we can. So everything I'm going to pop in, I'm going to snip, nice angle, in at a really low angle. Okay, so I'm going to make this about 2 foot in length. I'm not coming out the same length all the way around. Remember, this is going to be in the centre of a table. It's part of your table scape, which means it wants to kind of meander along. It wants to be the shape of an eye, so this shape. If it helps you, which we do when we're training, we chalk the shape of an eye onto the table or onto some newspaper, and then we work around that as a framework to get our shaping right. So these are also known as long and low displays. These can be scaled up or scaled down into much smaller ones, or you could think about having 2 or 3 of these along a table. You can see everything's really low lying. The idea of us keeping everything really low is that when you're then seated at the table, it's not obstructing the guests' view, your dinner party guests. My ideal dinner party guest would probably be Chris Evans, David Attenborough, Robbie Williams, and Maya Angelou. I think that's who I'd go for. Be interested to know who you'd go for. Right, so I'm just filling this in here. Trying to bring stuff down. So you can see the stuff that's got a little bit of a natural flex on it. I'm bringing that down towards the table. Just going to lift this in first. I'm going to start adding a little bit of skimmier. So it's really important to keep crouching down to look and see that this line of foliage, I'm going to turn it round, is coming down to the surface, down to the table. So you can see at this point I'm just getting shorter as I'm coming in. I'm not putting really long flowing bits out here. I'm bringing them shorter and slightly more upright, so we're going to create almost a tortoise shape. This is pistache. It's a lovely filler, really long lasting. You can, of course, mix this up and use it for your Christmas deck as well. Right, so I'm getting a really good covering now. It's got a nice flex on it, so I'm going to pop that down at the front. Any gaps that I can see, I can deal with at the end. I can start filling those holes in. But for the time being, my foliage framework is all in place. Now I'm going to start adding some skinnier. The reason I'm putting this on top is because it will stand out against that lovely blue of the eucalyptus. When you're doing a long and low, it's a really good idea to try and keep the area around it clear so that you can still see your shape. Next I'm going to add some hydrangeas. Now, these hydrangeas are nearly dry, so they will continue to dry in the arrangement itself. If they're too big for the arrangement, for instance, I've got two here, one's a bit broken. I'm going to chop them down and I'm going to wire them in. So I'm going to show you a quick technique of how to do that, because really two of these is going to be a little bit too bulky. So let's, in the shop we call this pipping. So take down the smaller bits. I can take a wire and I'm going to create a hairpin and take that round. So this will dry, so therefore it doesn't need to be directly into the water. So tuck that in there. I'm also going to add into this some gourds. Gourds are like tiny, tiny pumpkins. The gourds that we've got here are ones that we grew on our allotment. The great thing is about them, I think we just got a seed packet that just had all different types of gourds on, so it was really a huge surprise to us what came out, and that's clearly my favourite. But these lovely little lime ones, useless for eating, perfect for flower arranging. So here I've got a kebab stick. I'm going to pierce the bottom of that, and I'm going to place it in. Now, nestle them right in, make sure they're nice and tight. Gourds are really weighty, so you don't want them to be too upright. You really want them to be well supported by the foliage. And of course you can continue that gourd theme down the table when you're doing your tablescaping. So I've got two lovely ones there. Right, what should I add? This crocosmia is fabulous. It dries beautifully, adds real structure. Look at that. And you can get no end of small pieces out of one stem. Look at it. So the front there. Continue my line, so I've got a flick here, bringing that down here, bringing that down this side, making sure I'm going nice and low. I'm really tempted to take this crocosmia right down so it's actually touching the table. I think if we can do that. So traditionally, table centres you would have done in foam. Obviously, we do our best not to use foam. I'm not saying that we never use it, because we do where we have to. If we do have to use it, we'll always try and use the biodegradable stuff that's come out. There's also one that's come out recently called Agro Wool, which is made from wool. I haven't used that yet, but I will be doing in the near future, so I'll let you know how that goes. Right, so we're about... They're adding a little bit of detail in here. Always remember with table displays, don't just think of how it's going to look looking down on it, because actually your guests are going to be looking from the side. So you want to have plenty of interest happening around here. In fact, I'm going to do that. Good stuff. Or good stuff would be a slightly entertaining quip. Right, a little bit of jasmine. Oh, look at that. That's gorgeous. Absolutely gorgeous. Jasmine again works really well to bring some shape. There we go. That's got a little bit of dried end, so I'm just going to snip it off there. So this is a really foliage heavy display. It's not necessarily always about the flowers. I really do enjoy doing this, and you could do this out of your garden, you really could. So it's shooting season at the moment. It's October, so let's add a few pheasant feathers in. Again, you can extend these with a wire, then lay them down. Just look at that colour, how there's that beautiful deep pink against that pheasant feather with the skimmer. Oh, heaven. Okay, so, rose hips. So I'm going to add some of these. I snipped these earlier out of the hedge, and I really cut my thumb, so you have been warned. So just snip those off. I'm going to add those in for a little bit of texture. I'm really pleased with how well this Tupperware is holding it up. Just be careful when you're moving it around not to slosh it too much, especially if you've got a nice tablecloth on. Perfect. See, I'm picking these up with my scissors because I'm not going to make that fatal error again. Snipping off those. That's going to look nice down here. Kind of working backwards so I can show you. Again, you can see that I'm trying to utilise that flex on that bramble. Just be careful if you've got children that they don't start grabbing at it. I've got a 3-year-old and I know that he would definitely say, "Oh, look, mummy," and there would be tears, I'm sure. So let's snip a few more of these off. So I would continue to fill this all in, and then we should about be there. Okay, so it's looking a little bit flat. But I'm going to take that down a bit further. Always keep turning it round because you're going to be seeing it from all different angles, aren't you? Not just from the back or the front. Again, the brilliant thing about doing it in Tupperware using the pop tape is that you can take it out, put it back in, take it out, put it back in, which you can't do if you're doing it with foam. I just love how that jasmine crease down there. So at this point now, I'd probably spend a little bit of time filling in around there. But there you have it, your autumnal table centerpiece.